Zamfara records 1,500 cholera cases in 3 months. Outside Nigeria, Trump vows not to be intimidated ahead of Putin summit. And in sport, two-time champions Morocco sink Zambia in Chan, while DRC deny Angola. Those are our top stories. Details coming up now. We begin the world news at 12 with reports that Amnesty International says it possesses concrete evidence, including names and addresses of individuals allegedly killed extrajudicially by the Nigerian military in the southeast geopolitical zone of the country. In its latest report, A Decade of Impunity, Attacks and Unlawful Killings in Southeast Nigeria, the group accused the Nigerian police, military, the regional security outfit Abuja, and non-state actors of widespread human rights abuses in the region. It documented over 1,844 deaths between January 2021 and June 2023, alongside cases of torture, enforced disappearances, arbitrary arrest, and other violations. However, the Director of Defense Media Operations, Major General Marcus Kanye, had rejected Amnesty's findings, insisting that the military does not engage in extrajudicial killings in the southeast or anywhere in Nigeria. He said security operatives and operations in the zone have reduced the capacity of criminal elements. Sanusi dismissed claims by the defense headquarters that the organization was consistently targeting the military. The group's country director said that many of the extrajudicial killings occurred during operations in areas suspected of harboring members of the indigenous people of Biafra IPOB or its armed wing, the Eastern Security Network, ESN. In some cases, individuals were allegedly picked up from their homes and never seen again. Take a listen.
Well, I think what the defense spokesperson said is completely wrong, and I believe he hasn't or they haven't read our report. In the report, we also mentioned cases where military men were executed, their bases attacked or their barracks attacked. We also mentioned the fact that because of consistent attack on security agencies, which are unlawful as well, they could not be able to do their duties effectively. And we also mentioned cases where soldiers were executed by gunmen. And therefore, it is not about consistency, about condemning the military. What we are doing is doing the honest thing and saying that we have cases. While doing this investigation, we interviewed 100 people. And out of that 100, 95 of them, we interviewed them face-to-face in the southeast region. So we have our evidence, and we believe that the military should take time to read this report and look at cases. In fact, before we even release the report, we also send them letters telling them that we have these allegations. If you have any detail that can help us to understand what is going on or how your operations affect human rights, we will be glad to have them. And we didn't hear from them. Therefore, I don't think that there is any weight or any credibility to the claim that we are consistently against the military. We have nothing against the military, and we always believe that they are doing a constitutional responsibility. But that does not deflect the fact that they have to comply with human rights. And we will not shy away from pointing out whenever human rights are violated, because security is for people to live with dignity. And if it ends up becoming a means through which people are deprived of their personal liberty, we have to say it, and we have to say it bluntly without fear.
About 67% of inmates in correctional facilities across Nigeria are awaiting trial, according to Interior Minister Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo. Tunji-Ojo, speaking on television, believed strong synergy between the federal and state governments is key to better correctional services, while also revealing that about 72% of our inmates are state offenders. Explained that this means two-thirds are state offenders, but the federal government is the one taking responsibility now. In July, the minister said the federal government has released 4,550 offenders, part of moves to decongest correctional centers in Nigeria. Tunji-Ojo explained that the development comes after a review targeted at inmates who were held for minor bailable offenses and those with elongated incarceration. According to the minister, the government of President Bola Tinubu is committed to the repositioning of correctional centers across the country despite their condition when the president assumed office in 2023. His remarks came days after 16 inmates overpowered security operatives and escaped from the Kefi Correctional Center in Nasarawa State, adding to the number of jailbreaks in Nigeria in recent years. Some of them were, however, later captured. The Nigeria Labour Congress (NLC) has raised the alarm over alleged mismanagement in the Nigeria Social Insurance Trust Fund (NSITF), accusing the federal government of diverting 40% of workers' contributions to the national coffers as revenue, in flagrant violation of the statutes establishing the agency. The NLC said the NSITF must account for and return all diverted funds within 7 working days from Thursday, August 14, 2025, failure of which the union would no longer guarantee industrial peace in the sector. In a communique at the end of a meeting by its Central Working Committee (CWC), the labor union described the situation as an ongoing assault on workers' social protection right. It affirmed that the NSITF belonged to the Nigerian working class, adding that it would mobilize all legitimate means to ensure workers' interests are protected. It also called for the constitution of the Pension Commission (PENCOM) board within 7 days in full compliance with the law and submission to the NLC of the full status report of the funds within the same period. The labor union said this unlawful vacuum has allowed the government to solely superintend over the pension funds contributed by workers and employers, stripping away the statutory tripartite oversight and increasing the risk of management and political interference. The NLC also ratified the dissolution of its state administrative council in Edo State and the setting up of a caretaker committee. Meanwhile, the Academic Staff Union of Polytechnics (ASUP) has issued a 21-day ultimatum to the federal government to meet its outstanding demands in an agreement entered into with the union. President of ASUP, Shama Panja, said this while addressing newsmen at the end of an emergency meeting of the National Executive Council of the union in Abuja. Kakpanja said that the demands by the union include the non-release of a circular to affect the payment of its peculiar academic allowance by the National Salaries, Incomes and Wages Commission. He said that the peculiar academic allowances paid to academic staff across polytechnics were components of the ASU Federal Government of Nigeria 2010 agreement. The union leader said that rather than make provisions for payment, the allowances have been removed from the budgeting template and the Federal Ministry of Education had failed to intervene in definite terms on the subject. He said the NEC expressed deep concerns over the continued decision by the National Board for Technical Education to outsource the accreditation process for polytechnics in the country, despite assurances to desist from such actions. The union leader said the 25-35% arrears of salary review was yet to be implemented. He said that the arrears, which cover 12 months and were captured in the budget, was yet to be released for reasons beyond the comprehension of the union. Doctors Without Borders, Medicines Sans Frontiers (MSF) has raised concern over the rising cases of cholera in Zamfara, citing 1,500 cases from mid-June to early August. The MSF's medical coordinator in Nigeria, Dr. David Kizito, disclosed this in a statement issued to newsmen in Benin, Kabi. Kizito cited high case numbers from three of the state's Ministry of Health MOH medical facilities its support. He stated that this outbreak is unfolding in a context of insecurity, displacement, and limited access to clean water and sanitation. He argued that while cholera had been endemic to Nigeria for decades, seasonal outbreaks typically intensify between April and October. According to him, flooding during this period contaminates water sources, accelerating the spread of the disease in areas with poor sanitation. In response to the outbreak, MSF has scaled up its water, sanitation and hygiene, wash interventions and promotional activities alongside other humanitarian actors and the state MOH, which activated a public health emergency operations center in July 3. He stated that the organization's medical teams were providing treatment at MSF-supported facilities across the state in its expansion of cholera medical treatment for preventative measures. It is now time for us to join in Kamian John from our Abuja studio for more news.
Thanks for staying with us. These are the latest developments from the nation's capital. I am Kamian John. The Presidential Compressed Natural Gas Initiative has handed over 450-seater hybrid buses to the Federal Capital Territory Administration to enhance public transportation. The buses, powered by compressed natural gas and diesel, are expected to serve commuters across the capital, cutting transportation costs and reducing emissions. Launched in 2023, the PCNGI aims to promote the use of CNG and electric vehicles nationwide to improve mass transit and create jobs. Program Director and Chief Executive Michael Olugbemi presented the buses to the FCT Mandate Secretary for Transportation, Chinedu Elechi, who received them on behalf of Minister Nyesom Wike. Elechi said the buses would help reposition the city's transport system and move over 200 passengers efficiently. The Federal Capital Territory Administration Task Force has pulled down suspected criminal hideouts in the Apo Cadastral Zone District following intelligence reports linking the area to rising crime in Apo nearby communities. Director of Development Control, Mukhtar Galadima, described the location as one of Abuja's most notorious dark spots, noting that previous attempts to clear it failed to end the menace. He said the latest operation is part of a citywide sanitation exercise to permanently dismantle criminal hideouts. Galadima explained that credible intelligence had linked the area to violent crimes, including killings, stressing that this time all illegal structures will be removed and the location fenced off. Also speaking, the Director of FCT Security Department, Adamu Gari, represented by Dr. Peter Olumuji, said the site had long been a security concern, with residents reporting cases of drug trafficking and violent crimes. Meanwhile, the Apo Division of the FCT Police Command has praised the Federal Capital Territory Administration Task Force for demolishing suspected criminal hideouts in the Apo Cadastral Zone District of Abuja. Police officers who visited the site declined to speak officially, but noted that clearing the enclave would bring much needed relief to residents. Confirming the police position, the FCT Director of Development Control, Mukhtar Galadima, said credible intelligence received that the area, particularly Cadastral Zone E27 in Apo resettlement, had been a major contributor to insecurity in Apo and its surroundings. Also speaking, Peter Olujimi, representing the Director of FCT Security, Adamu Gwari, said residents had repeatedly complained about criminal activities in the location, which served as a hideout for armed robbers and a hub for illicit drug peddling. Still from the police, the Federal Capital Territory Police Command has recovered 3 suspected stolen vehicles: a Honda Civic, ash color, a Toyota Sienna LE ash color with registration number ABJ75JR, and an orange coaster bus without a registration number. The FCT Police Public Relations Officer Josephine Ade, in a statement on Thursday, said the recovery followed credible intelligence on abandoned vehicles near the Central Police Station. The operation was carried out Monday, August 11, 2025. Commissioner of Police CP Ajawa Dewale thanked residents for their cooperation and timely information, urging members of the public whose vehicles match the description to visit the FCT Police Command headquarters with proof of ownership for verification and collection. Those are the developments in the nation's capital. I am Kamyang John.
That's Kamyang John from our Abuja studio. If you're just tuning in, this is the World News at 12 on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. Let's go straight to our analysis segment where I have Tunde Kolawole, a legal practitioner and a current affairs analyst. Barrister Kolawole, thank you for joining us on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Now let's go straight to the first talking point for our news, where it's been a back and forth accusation and counter accusation between Amnesty International and the Nigerian army, where the Amnesty International released a report of extrajudicial killing in the southeast. It documented over 1,844 deaths between January 2021 and June 2023, where there have been cases of torture, enforced disappearances, arbitrary arrest, and other violations. Now, the Amnesty International accused the Nigerian police, the military, the regional security outfit there, Ebubiagu, that's the Amotekun version of the Southeast security outfit, and some non-state actors like cultists, armed robbery, and situations like that, accusing them of widespread human rights abuses. And of course, as expected, the Nigerian military yesterday came out to counter that report, rejecting the report, saying the Nigerian army has not been involved with extrajudicial killing. And of course, Amnesty International countered that report with their own this morning, saying that they have evidence that they interviewed 100 people, mostly face-to-face in the southeast, for this report. And of course, they have they authoritatively said that they have evidence to back this report. What's your view on it?
Thank you so much, and good afternoon to all the good people of Lagos and all the good people of Nigeria and those who are listening to this broadcast internationally. Well, let me quickly say that we are dealing with a very, very touchy issue. Touchy in so many respects. Why do I say it is touchy? Now you have the Nigerian army that has been doing battles all over the country in the past 15 years. They either fighting Boko Haram, fighting with IPOP, having to tackle the kidnappers, on all manners of very, very serious criminality that are going on in the country. So if a man has been on the battlefield for 15 years and all that, and he loses some of his own comrades, some of his own colleagues in the battlefield and all that, ordinarily you would expect that it could sometimes be very touchy, and he could get easily irritated and provoked to engage in some action that he ordinarily should not have engaged with. And you and I also know that the people who serve as IPOP are also human beings who think that they have some grievances they want the Nigerian state to address, for which the country has refused to address since 1966 or thereabout, when that demand for an independent state of Biafra began. Again, when you look at Amnesty International, now we know that Amnesty International is an international organization, a world organization that is respected and based in all countries of the world. And given the precedent of Amnesty International and their track records and all that, they actually will cry wolf when there is no war. And again, you must remember, this will not be the first time that Amnesty International and some other human rights organizations, locally and internationally, will fight accusing fingers at the Nigerian army, at the Nigerian police, at so many other security agencies that are violating people's fundamental human rights. As we are speaking today, some policemen have applied to enter Canada or to be Canadian citizens and others, and they have been rejected simply because Canada thinks that the Nigerian police engage in egregious human rights violation. Exactly. You also remember, I think it was General Muhammadu Buhari, when some army chiefs retired and all that, he made them ambassadors. And when you are made an ambassador, you are given a ambassadorial passport. And when you have a ambassadorial passport, wherever you go, most times other states, other countries will not arrest you because you are carrying an ambassadorial.
You're representing your country.
Exactly. So at that period in time, some people have raised the issue. Could it be that when those army generals retired, General Buhari gave the ambassadorial post and ambassadorial passport so that they could be moved to arrest in the other countries of the world, based on the allegations that some of extrajudicial killings and violations of fundamental human rights and what have you. So my take is this: I know that I will not think that Amnesty International will just wake up overnight and begin to make very, very such egregious allegations against the Nigerian army, given the background that I have given to this discussion. Again, too, you and I will remember that the IPOB people and some of the people who think they are fighting for their freedom in the Southeast have also behaved in a manner that is very difficult to defend.
Yeah.
Say, for example, there were these Igbo couples, a soldier and a woman and a man who are of Igbo origin, who went to the east, I think, to finalize their wedding plans and what have they. And then those people got killed in the Southeast. And then the allegations was that it was the IPOB people that killed them. So what I'm going out
so
is
why,
very, very
so while you can sympathize with and understand what they are fighting for, sometimes they go about it in a totally wrong way.
Absolutely, absolutely. But you see, when they go about in a very, very wrong way or another, I would want to blame the Nigerian state for this problem. Why do I say so? If you have had the problems in 1966, how many years, more than 40 years ago, and the problem has refused to go away, is it not better to tackle the problem from the root rather than engage in killing and going to the Southeast to burn houses and then absorb people, arrest people in the Southeast and then carry them to Abuja? And then,
all in the name of tackling separatist group.
Exactly. The truth of the matter is that the problem in the Southeast is a very simple one that can be resolved within 1 or 6 months. Why do I say this? Some of us have been advocating, conduct a referendum in the Southeast as regards whether the generality of the people there want a Biafra state or not. And if you conduct a referendum and war at all, and then the people say they want a state of Biafra, so be it. And if majority say electoral capacity and war at all, this is better for the Southeast to be playing on the Nigerian state than then get emasculated in the tiny republic. But the truth of the matter is that each time we have had government in this campaign, each time we have had leaders, all of them have always said, no, it is not when I'm there that Nigeria will break into peace and that Nigeria will fragment, that Nigeria will, a part of Nigeria will skid away.
So they tend to sweep it under the carpets.
Exactly. It's not a moral question. Look at what the geographers are telling us now. The engineers are telling us. Do you know that the Africa is likely to split into two, and the process of the land of African land splitting into two, the process has begun. That in some 100 years or whereabouts, we wouldn't know which part of the divide we will be, whether the Southeast is part of Nigeria
because of the effect of climate change.
Exactly. So nothing is permanent in nature. Nothing at all. People will come together and people will break out. So we should be very flexible when to come to things like this. And like civilized people, what we should be doing is addressing serious problems in a very fair, equitable, and how would I put it? Like civilized people. What we do now doesn't address the problem at all. Killing Nigerian soldiers when they go to the southeast, and then the Nigerian soldiers going to the southeast to kill the iPod and then violate people's fundamental rights. That is a very bad thing to do. But I would want to appeal to the Nigerian and media professionals. No matter the level of provocation, they are not supposed to engage in rash action and all that. They should engage in professionalism, such that nobody will be pointing the kind of accusing finger that we see being pointed at them. But if they act out of provocation and all that, the possibility that they behave in a very rash manner, which will further embolden organizations like Amnesty to begin to point accusing fingers at them. But let's remember too, there is nowhere war is fought that it has not been dirty, that it has not been bitter, that it has not been bloody. Look at what is going on between the Palestinians.
And where there have been no casualties.
Exactly. Look at what is going on now between the Palestinians and then the Israelis. The Israelis are just going down in order to achieve their aim, killing Palestinians like a fowl on a daily basis. And then when the Palestinians also get hold of them and all that, they equally wasted. Salvation has become a weapon in the hand of the Israelis, which was one of those things that the Jews themselves complained about.
Exactly.
They complained that Hitler engaged in subjected them to salvation. Hitler wanted to exterminate them. Look at the
one would have expected that the Israelis would have learned their lesson from their own history.
Exactly. So that is the cue, that is the lesson we want the Nigerian army to learn. Now we should behave like the next person.
Now, this Amnesty report has brought back into fore the issue of rules of engagement, because in the past, the military and paramilitary agencies, as a matter of fact, the whole of uniformed people in Nigeria have actually been accused of extrajudicial killing, have been accused of not engaging in the proper rules of engagement. And one begin to wonder the kind of training that these uniform agencies go through in the various academy, or would it be the aftermath of military rule in Nigeria? Because the issue of aggression when it comes to police, Nigerian army, immigration officers, it's not even dying down. It's like it gets from bad to worse. I mean, we've heard instances of immigration officers, running after border criminals, and then they shoot anyhow, and you see innocent people caught in the crossfire, and no accountability whatsoever.
That's another very complex question. Complex in the sense that it is very difficult to dissect, but I will try. What I want to say that some of these issues or challenges are rising from the foundation in which we lay, and which that was laid for some of these security agencies. Take the Nigerian police. The Nigerian police is called Nigerian Police Force. But when you look at the word force, are we supposed to have this as part of the name of the Nigerian police? A police is supposed to be a quasi-military organization.
Like in the US, it is a department.
Exactly. But here we gave them the name Nigerian Police Force. What we have simply done by doing that is that we have conferred on them, we have ascribed to them a force.
But do you think that will change if the nomenclature is changed?
Of course.
I mean, they've been living as a force for such a very long time that even if they change it to Nigerian Police Department or Lagos Police Department, would you think that would automatically change the way they act if the foundation is not exactly worked on?
Well, for us here in Africa, Nigeria, Yoruba, Igbos, and even Hausa, our name carries a lot of import, a lot of significance. It's a reflection of our aspirations as a people. If you remove the word force in there, and you give the Nigerian police a new orientation, a new indoctrination, a new education and all that, it will significantly help in reducing the kind of excesses that we continue to see in that organization. I'm not saying it will totally curb it. No, it may not totally curb it. But even in the places that I mentioned, like America, in places like UK, police here engage in excessive force. They carry out extrajudicial killings and all that. And then they are sometimes blamed for some of these issues and all that. In fact, I continue to criticize that number. I don't know of anywhere in the world where the police is loved by the people, where people like the police. I don't know of any country in the world where that happens.
But the difference is there are modalities in place for accountability.
Exactly. If they are trained to operate within the rule of law, I am sure we will see a significant improvement. Look at what happened to George Floyd in the U.S. A policeman who thought he had power, he had authority and all that, simply put his knees on the neck of Floyd and then choked him to death in broad daylight, even when he was being recorded and warned. So, and then we must also remember, like I said, these people who work under very, very difficult conditions, they could also be killed if they don't kill. So sometimes some of these things influence what some of the actions that they engage in when they are on this summer. But we could at least make the police, the Nigerian police, the Nigerian army, and other security agencies better than what we have today. If those who manage those organizations, their commanders, all those who have those organizations, keep them, don't give them wrong orders, encourage them to be civil, and also punish or demand those who engage in excessive activities that is not in line with whatever orders they have given. Without the rules of engagement, people all over the world will tend to misbehave.
Okay. So now, let's take a look at the timeline where this Amnesty International report is between January 2021 and June 2023. It's not exactly a coincidence that it's happened in the Muhammadu Buhari administration. I mean, he has gotten a lot of stake for how he governed, how he was sold to Nigerians as a reformed military head of state, but he was anything but a reformed military head of state. I mean, he has created the template at which the APC is still following, where it's like human rights violations have been going on for a long time.
With due respect, even though General Muhammadu Buhari has, we were told he has asked that he should be forgiven for whatever excesses that he may have engaged in when he was both military head of state and then civilian head of state. He has said that he is a human being that is prone to make mistakes like any other human being. But if he has been military head of state and you consider that you have made a mistake, must you repeat those mistakes when you are much older, when you now become a civilian president as he became, and then continue to engage in that kind of atrocious activities as a civilian president. The truth of the matter is this: when you look at General Muhammadu Buhari's background and all that, he doesn't seem to have respect for the southeast of Nigeria, even though it's now being praised in, that he did the second Niger bridge as if he took the money from his personal pocket. You remember he also referred to the Southeast as a dot within the Nigerian nation. For me, that is significant. So if some of those atrocities took place under him in the Igbo land and war, you could say that he's a vintage General Muhammadu Buhari and all that. But also remember, it was not just in the Southeast alone that he carried out, that he was said to have engaged or made his army or his soldiers or his security agencies engaged in very, very unpalatable and untoward action.
I mean,
and all that.
how can we forget NSAS?
Exactly. Also look at this Islamic group in Kaduna and Kano and in Abuja, led by
El
Ibrahim
Zakzaki.
Exactly. Know thousands or hundreds of their people that they got
Even in Nnamdi Kanu, despite the fact that the courts have said they should be released because the federal government have no concrete evidence against him. He's still languishing in prison.
Exactly. Also remember that when President Muhammad Buhari was the military head of state, there was also a religious problem. I think it was this Kano Kaduna. It was called Mataseni at that period in time and what have you. Muhammad Buhari deployed the Air Force that went to bomb the Mataseni enclave, killing both Mataseni people and then innocent passers-by. And that human life to them would appear to count for nothing. Once they have the order and all that, or once they see you as blocking their way and all that, they see you as an obstacle. And the next thing is just to remove you forcefully, no matter what the consequences might be.
Okay, let's quickly move to the second talking point, where about 67% of inmates in correctional facilities across Nigeria are awaiting trial, according to Interior Minister Olubume Tunde-Ojo. Now, this is a very interesting report when although they say that a problem identified is a problem half solved. But in this situation, I mean, the other government, it's not just enough to identify problem, is you should have to find a way to fix them. This is why this report is a very interesting one. But what's your view on it?
Well,
I mean, especially as a legal practitioner that you are.
It's a very, very unfortunate situation. Very, very unfortunate. And why do I say this? When you look at most of the prisons that we have in this country today, most of them were built many, many years ago. Sometimes during the colonial era. Look at the Kerry prison in which there was a jailbreak recently. Look at the number of years it's been built. Look at the Kirikiri prison. Look at how many number of years.
That was when Nigeria was nowhere where it is in terms of population.
Exactly. So the capacity, we have not been investing in the prison simply because we see the prison as a place to destroy those who, one way or the other, have come in conflict with the law. Whereas all over the world today, the prison feels to be a place of destruction, but rather a place to reform people. So if we are going to be able to deal with the challenges that we have in the prison, first and foremost, we must expand the capacity of those prisons. The second one is that we find out that the states in Nigeria, most of the inmates you find in the prison and all that are coming from the state courts. They are not federal offenders. They are not people being tried under federal offenses and war actions. And lo and behold, to find out that the state that puts a lot of people in those places are not investing in those prisons. They are not feeding them and all that. And they are not ready to even build a prison to accommodate some of the people they take to the federal prisons and war actions. So we must bail the cat. We must seize the good by the owner and then begin to compel the state to either build their own prisons and all that. And if they could not build, they should be ready to kind of add to the structures that we have in those federal prisons so to be able to accommodate their own suspect or awaiting trial that they put in those places. Feeding is also a problem and all that. If the states have more of their own awaiting trial in those places, it is merely logical that it should also be the one to feed them. But somehow the federal government has been taking on this responsibility, and then the state has been turning the blind eye to all those things that are happening in those places. Secondly, we should, even though Lagos State has started this non-custodian activities or sentences and what happens, it is not everything or every time people have a conflict with the law that we should send them to prison and what happens. We should begin to deepen the non-custodian sentencing that is already in our law and what happens. And then when you also look at the administration of criminal justice law at both the state level and then at the federal level and what happens, Those laws have provisions for ways and manner by which you can decontest the prison. For example, the magistrates, the high court judges who visit prisons periodically and see the level of congestion in there, and then give people bail, and those whom they think that ordinarily will be left to go, who have spent more time there than they would have spent, even if they were convicted. They can be released by magistrates and by judges. And then you also find out the law allows the magistrates in particular to be visiting the different police stations all over the country, especially in Lagos State and Warren, and then ask questions as regards people who are being kept there. And when they are kept there, they could grant them bail, and if they should not be granted bail, they could order that they should be taken to the court immediately, where the court will grant them bail. Furthermore, by now I should think, like it happens in the US, individuals will be allowed to build prisons.
Private prisons.
Like they are building hotels now.
Yeah, private correctional centers.
Exactly. So as to be able to assist government, since it appears that the governments are no longer have the capacity to take care of all this. More importantly, and lastly, this I consider very important, the people in authority should pay attention to the prison, because they never think they might be going there and all that.
Well, in Nigeria, they don't really go there. The prison is basically meant for the poor people.
Exactly. Remember when Abuja put Obasanjo in prison and all that, when he came out, and you journalists were asking questions, he has seen the prison, the place is hell on earth.
Well, he didn't exactly do any mind-blowing prison reform.
But throughout the 8 years that he was there and all that, we never see him make any investment in that area. If there was anybody who invested, if there was anybody thought about the prison, it should be Dr. Goodluck Jonathan. When he came up with the Administration of Criminal Justice Law, which tend to simplify and which tend to frown at arbitrary arrest and then detention or putting people in the prison custody without trial.
I'm afraid we have to end it here. It's always a pleasure talking to you, Barrister Kolawole. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, my brother. Have a lovely day.
Thanks, you too, sir. That was Tunde Kolawole, a legal practitioner and a current affairs analyst. And for a quick look at what's happening outside Nigeria, US President Donald Trump has insisted that he will not be intimidated by Russian leader Vladimir Putin in a high-stakes summit, and said Ukraine will be involved in any deal on its fate. Putin flies to Alaska today, Friday, at the invitation of Trump in his first visit to a Western country since he ordered the 2022 invasion of Ukraine that has killed tens of thousands of people. As Russia made gains on the battlefield, the Kremlin said the two presidents planned to meet one-on-one, heightening fears of European leaders that Putin will cajole Trump into a settlement imposed on Kyiv. Trump insisted to reporters at the White House, quote, "I am president and he's not going to mess around with me." Trump has voiced admiration for Putin in the past and faced widespread criticism after a 2018 summit in Helsinki, where he appeared to accept the Russia's denials of U.S. intelligence on Moscow's meddling in U.S. elections. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky was not invited to the Alaska summit, which he has denounced as a reward to Putin, and has refused Trump's calls to surrender territory. Trump promised not to finalize any deal with Putin alone and said he hoped to hold a three-way summit with Zelensky, possibly immediately afterward in Alaska. Still on international news, a court hearing for jailed Hong Kong media mogul Lai has been postponed due to bad weather, further lengthening a national security trial that began in 2023. The city's weather observatory hoisted the highest level rainstorm warning for around 3 hours, leading the judiciary to cancel hearings for the day. Record that the 77-year-old founder of the Apple daily newspaper is charged with foreign collusion under Hong Kong's national security law, which Beijing imposed during huge and sometimes violent pro-democracy protests in 2019. At the hearing, lawyers were expected to present closing arguments as Ali's trial enters its final stages, just as the judiciary said that those due to 10 postponed hearings should return today, Friday. Meanwhile, the media tycoon has been kept behind bars since December 2020, reportedly in solitary confinement, with Western nations and rights groups calling for his release. Aside from the collusion offense, which could land him in prison for life, Lai is also charged with seditious publication relating to 161 op-eds he allegedly wrote. The tycoon gave spirited courtroom testimony over more than 50 days during the trial, fielding questions about his political ideology, management style, and overseas contacts. Hong Kong authorities have repeatedly rejected criticism related to Lai, saying last month that this case was handled strictly on the basis of evidence and in accordance with the law. And finally, on our sports news, two-time champions Morocco and DR Congo clawed their way back into quarterfinal contention with wins over Zambia and Angola in the African Nations Championships CHAN. Morocco crushed Zambia 3-1, while DR Congo needed 2 second-half goals to defeat Angola. The Zambian backline sustained high pressure as Morocco dominated the early proceedings at the Nyayo National Stadium, but the North Africans failed to cash in on 3 clear chances. The Atlas Lions took the lead in first-half injury time when captain Mohamed Rimat got onto Youssef Mary's out-swinging corner. Defender Happy Nsiku appeared to have leveled for Zambia in the 65th minute, but it was denied by a VAR review, confirmed an infringement on the build-up to the goal. Osama Lamloui then capitalized on the confusion to grab Morocco's second just a minute later, before substitute Andrew Philip pulled one back for Zambia on 70th minute. Midfielder Zabiru Bogrini's stoppage time strike sent Morocco to second place in Group A with 6 points, only a point behind leaders Kenya. Fellow two-time winners DR Congo beat Angola 2-0 to end their opponents' hopes of progression into the tournament. And that's all we have for you, but before we go, here again are our top stories. Amnesty International counters military, says there is evidence of extrajudicial killings in the southeast. About 67% of inmates in Nigeria are awaiting trial, federal government reveals. NLC issues 7-day ultimatum with allegation of mismanagement in NSITF. ASUB threatens to go on strike, giving federal government 21-day ultimatum. Zambia records 1,500 cholera cases in 3 months. Outside Nigeria, Trump vows not to be intimidated ahead of Putin's summit. And in sports, two-time champions Morocco sink Zambia in CHAN, while DRC deny Angola. And that's the World News at 12. I am Solomon of FM. Do follow our social media handles at VOP903FM. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at VOP903FM. Good afternoon and thank you for listening.